All right, these are pretty popular. Kenwood eXcelon. eXcelon is or was Kenwood's top of the line series that you could only buy through a Kenwood dealer. Like typically they wouldn't sell it online. They probably sell it online now because, again, China and China just likes to make money every day. They don't really like to experiment. They don't really like to take chances when, it's like, why would you take a chance when there's money on the table? You can just take it. All you got to do is make what you made last year. It's real easy. So, but some of that's part of the culture. Some of that is just being thrifty. I completely understand it. But again, that's not what American markets are like. They want the newest thing all the time. They've sold so many of these. This looks like a 2.5 or at least a thin gap, maybe 2 5/8, which is on the big side. It's a stamped steel frame with a boot cover. It doesn't look like it's that big of a magnet. It's not quite as big and strong as that, but they put a lot of extra beauty stuff on it to make it look larger than it is. But it's the whole thing is probably $12-13 to make. This is of course nice, rubber surround, uses a beauty ring too, clamp ring that they put on the front. The client that brought these in, this one works and this one does not. He fried it, and I really like this one because I like the way that this lip has it. This is just a cap on. I don't know why people put vents underneath it. It already vents out this way. Putting stuff in there does not, like, if you put them in the voice coil, it doesn't do anything. If you put it here, there's no I guess there are holes to let the smoke out. There's no ventilation circuitry. There's no physical means of getting, even if the woofer's moving back and forth. A lot of that stuff is just standing waves, and you can do it with just a smoke test. You can sit there and watch it. It doesn't do anything. But sometimes people, like even when I would talk to Larry F. sometimes, he was still hung up on stuff that they believed in the 80s and the 90s. And I was like, you might want to, again, there's a lot of the wives' tales and the habits that are in the speaker industry. A lot just has to do, again, with what worked last year. Okay, let's repeat that. Nobody wants to experiment. Nobody wants to do anything risky. And it takes a weirdo like me to just sort of study this for decades and understand how to make a really good product that's going to last basically forever. See, I don't like planned obsolescence. I want something to last for decades, and you could easily do that with the technology we have now, and use off-the-shelf parts, readily available parts over and over and over again. Oh, Patrick, you won't make a lot of money. I don't give a shit about that. I want these things to be as cheap as possible. So, but let me see if it's copper. Yeah, it's copper. It's pretty light. I was talking about the other day about again, the way that JL designs things. They use a very light moving mass and a very soft suspension, a very compliant suspension. And the way that they make up on the VAS is to have a very strong motor. So again, that's just another way to design things. If it was the best way, everyone would be doing it, but they do it, and what it ends up lacking is power handling, because it sort of maxes out real easy, and when you burn those things up, GL just goes, you're shit out of luck, and you're like, oh, I paid $1,400. It's like, well, that's your lesson to learn. But I like this part. Because you can actually, I'm sure this is tooled for them, but you could easily rebadge it or not rebadge it, but buy it from China like this, like a carcass, that's what they call it, where you just buy that part and then you add, if you have surplus parts or something like that, you can recone here, and then that way you can say made in USA. And then this cap is just, is it injection? I would love to learn more about that. I think it's just a thermal mold with this texture to make it look kind of carbon fibery, and then a screen print, 2-color screen print. Other than that, this is actually pretty easy to get off. You just have to pry it like that to give it, to pull it off, and it came off in one piece. I don't know if I'd ever reuse it, but it's good to keep in the library. Just for sometimes, you know, the pitch is what you want, but you want to change something else, and again, it's just good to have stuff in the library. That is the Kenwood eXcelon 12-inch. What is it? I always get a kick out of the KFC lines. It's like, have you never heard of the Colonel? Like, and it's a Japanese company, and they love Colonel Sanders over in Japan. But KFC XW12. They've been making this for close to 30 years. Just different versions, like they would do like a gray or a silver frame instead of black and all this kind of stuff, and you can see the revisions, sometimes the small changes in the part number, but I mean, it's okay. I don't like that they rated it peak 20 or peak 1200 watts. 400 watts is pretty fine. Yeah. They're not even made in China. They're like, we need to piss on the Vietnamese. Vietnam, made in Vietnam. Just because the laborers, they don't have as much development there, and so they can just take advantage of. They go, oh, you work for a nickel? Okay, let's do it for a nickel. The other one I wanted to complain about was the Skywires. This is so much cheaper to do Skywires, especially when you have a lot of manual labor available. Really soft suspension. I mean, this thing does get low and perform, but again, it's not very... the magnet's not very strong or very big, and so this would make a really good home theater subwoofer. It could use a bigger surround, just to get a little more stroke. Again, standard. This looks almost like a 35 millimeter. You have to account for the windings that came off. Sorry, I'm looking at it in real life. That's it. Again, if you can get one of these used for 30-40 bucks, they're fine. I'm sure Crutchfield has sold like a zillion of them. I would put this on par with a Sony Xplod. This is going to tend to be more expensive, even though it's the same performance, because it's the eXcelon. It's their flagship brand. So, not that means anything. And then also remember that Kenwood and JVC combined, and I forget who the parent company is now, but it's a giant international conglomerate. So it's like, you know, nobody's paying attention there. They're just order from China or from Vietnam, and whatever sold last year, let's do it again. Anyways, I love you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.